Fan Podcast, episode number 258. I'm your host, David Palermo, with our friendly pal, Ben Grimaudo. We'll get to him in a minute. This is called Bean Counting Beans, okay? And what that means in the fucking title, I don't know where the money came from. This has been Monopoly money the whole time. I'm like, dude, Bean's got no money. 2 years ago, people were telling me, oh, Bean is just, dude, he's got so much money in the cap. Don't worry about it. And just like, okay, Trent Murphy. Okay, Sorrow Too Late. Okay, cutting talent. I was pissed for years, but I will say, and Ben will dive into it. This will be episode 3 since the free agency Monday. Legal tampering period. That's been fucking nuts of last week, and for me, been very hard on Brandon Beane. But I saw him on the Pat McAfee show, and with the transactions he's been making, I've been telling myself, Ben, it's funny money. I don't give a fuck. I guess it just happens, and he does things differently. And when I heard that the way he acquires players is he'll have 5 guys, he'll have one guy scout 5 teams and their social media, and I thought that was really interesting how he goes about it. I've been very critical about the draft pick development, but this year, for them to identify their needs of bringing back the dogs between Jordan Phillips, who I thought was a great waiver wire pickup, which you would have been stupid if you didn't pick him up because he was a second round pick, and the Bills happen to be in the spot to get him in that waiver wire year. So, yes, you can give Brandon Beane credit, but you would almost be a dumbass not to bring him in on your fucking team because that's how much of a monster he was. In game 1, he fucking balled out. Well, after he did that here, he ended up getting paid. Same with Shaq Lawson. And I was listening to Eric Wood talk today on the Shout podcast with Ryan Talbot. Who's the other guy on there with him? I'm blowing this right now. But he was mentioning how Shaq Lawson's stoked to be back in Buffalo. So Brandon Beane identified the problems. We need a guard. Got Saffold immediately. Aaron Cromer is going to be a whole podcast within itself because I think Aaron Cromer is the most important part of the offseason besides this defensive line makeover. Bring the dogs back, bring it back, punching people in the mouth. That's what I like. To you, Ben, what are you thinking here? What do you
Yeah,
got? Mad transactions?
yeah. You're right. This has been an absolutely crazy free agency. The Raiders, the Broncos. That division has seen quite a bit of movement. Of course, Deshaun Watson going to the Browns and Indy. They got their quarterback too, and Matty Ice. So the AFC is going to be crazy. But in that movement in the AFC West, we saw Tyreek Hill, probably the Chiefs' biggest X factor and the biggest problem, the Bills' defense against Kansas City, the last 2 playoff matchups. He was shipped out of KC and he was sent to the Bills' division rival, Miami. So that's going to kind of be significant for 2 different reasons. One, obviously, Mahomes misses his best weapon. Kelsey's an amazing tight end, but what Tyreek Hill brings is just so different. We go back to the Bills divisional playoff game when they were up late in the game. Hill took that pass 60 yards, and the Chiefs took the lead. The Bills scored again, but we go back to 13 seconds, that 13 seconds, and I think we'll always pick that up sequence of plays apart and overanalyze it. But if we're being honest, the whole reason the Bills are playing such a soft coverage scheme is because of Tyreek Hill. They knew what he can do when he has the football. So that's going to be big when the Bills play the Dolphins. But of course, they don't have the quarterback that the Chiefs have. So for the Bills, when they play the Chiefs again, that's something that they don't have to worry about. The Chiefs picked up Juju, but Juju Smith-Schuster is just not on Tyreek Hill's level. So crazy free agency, and just what the Bills have been doing, I think are just really solidifying their place in the AFC. And they have the quarterback, and what Beane is doing is he's just making it so the draft, we can go out and he can get the best player available when the Bills pick, because last year a lot of people wanted a running back and we ended up getting a pass rusher, and we end up doubling down on pass rush in that draft with Boogie Basham in the second round. And we signed Von Miller. So, I mean, that rules out pass rusher this draft. There's a couple different places we can go. But I think with the Tyreek move to the Dolphins, I think it's pretty clear cut that corner is something that hasn't been addressed yet that needs to be addressed.
So, man, you want not a lot of spots, but so I'm gonna go in reverse order here. But I forgot what you just said. But what did you just say? What was the last point?
I think Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins kind of makes the need for corner a little more important,
Okay, so
especially when
corner
they have
was a
all that
need.
speed.
Corner was a need the entire time, and it's been a need. Um, we found out, you were saying on the phone to me yesterday, that Cole Beasley left because of the fans. I think that's the same reason that Levi Wallace left for, I heard,
Well,
similar money. So
well,
I would be
I'll
betting.
stop you right there because I think, and this goes back to something we'll talk about in a little bit. But in Beane's presser last week, he said if JD McKissic didn't bail on them, they would have offered something to Levi. But so I think that was part of it. Was the Bills never even offered him anything, and if McKissic didn't screw them, he probably would have. Bean said he would have offered what the Steelers offer them to Levi. But I mean,
It's a thing, dude. You know, man.
it doesn't
I'm not
matter.
in the locker room. I don't know what goes on with him.
I think
Let's
the
just
Bills need a corner. Even
they
if they did bring back Levi Wallace, they still need a
yeah, Trey
corner.
White's going to be out for a bit. And the thing is
Right now,
uh,
you just got Dane Jackson there, basically. That's it.
right. So here's what I'm getting at is I start off the show talking about being Brandon Beane's my favorite offseason of him so far, and frankly, that's because his drafts don't make sense to me. His approach doesn't make sense to me. Last year, just a bunch of DNs. The year before that, you know, just
He got
weird.
Stephon Diggs the year before that, so
Yeah, I get all that, but we're still building a team. And
right.
to have an offensive line that looks like it's rocket science to get together, we can't just scapegoat fucking the coaches at a certain point, okay? Now, what I'm getting at is my man ultimate team is fire, okay? I've had Saffold for a while, and at my left guard spot, he learned under Cromer. It's going to be great. He's going to be able to teach the stuff. And Eric Wood commented as well how much Cromer, he was playing his best football under Cromer. You know, and I was very vocal, Ben, in the day, like, he needs to be the one coach you retain. Of all guys that Rex had, you got to bring Cromer back. And then Eric made me aware that, like, he was able to adjust and do more of his own technique in LA and stuff, Aaron Cromer. And I thought that was really cool when he was with the Rams. I didn't know that. This is way over my fucking head. So, for me, the Bills, you know, we had the fullback of Felton, and they were playing power football, and just the fact that I feel like Cromer is going to be able to work with the attributes that guys have, which was our favorite part about Chan Gailey, which is, I don't care, Stevie, what you do, just get to the spot on time. You know, like, that's where we need you. Okay, sick, you know, and that's, you should really check it out. It's a Shout podcast, and the latest one, and Eric Wood's on there, and he breaks it down on how he just works within a technique you already have. On the defensive side of the ball, I feel that there's so much going on, and I have a theory in the draft that once it's always lying season in sports, but when it's 100 out of 100 lying season in sports, it's going to be right after the Super Bowl or your team loses, okay,
Mm-hmm.
their last game. That's going to be lying season. So what I'm
Right.
trying to tell you is it seems like cornerback is one position that they have not talked about in the draft. I think people like that it's down, but I would say this. I feel with football and drafts, the reason I'm very hard on general managers is you know your holes,
Right.
okay? And you also know that you have a system you're running, okay? And that rounds 1 through 3 are starters day one, okay? And the beauty
Hopefully
of,
day one.
obviously,
Right.
but that comes down to the general manager understanding the system that coach is running, obviously, which hopefully they do. which you would assume maybe. So what I'm getting at is every position of need, there should be a top 4 to 5 that actually fall to you anywhere in the draft in the top 3 rounds. It's like there has to be a defensive back that can slide in between rounds 1 and 3 for one that will drop to the Bills that can play in their system, okay, and adapt. You know, that's a thing. It doesn't have to be a quote unquote developmental dude. For all we know, Tremaine Evans could get traded or something wild could happen where Brandon Beane works out some
But
thing because,
if you
like,
trade Tremaine Edmonds, then we have to probably replace him with a rookie middle linebacker in the
I'm just
draft.
saying, who knows, bro, how the draft is going to fall. Okay.
I mean, yeah.
So,
I
what
mean,
I'm
wide
getting at
receiver
is
too, because when we bring up Tyreek Hill, the Bills still have to extend Stephon Diggs, and Diggs is getting up there in age, and we see the money that receivers are getting thanks to Christian Kirk destroying the receiver market, signing that big deal with Jacksonville. But you see what the Raiders are giving Devontae. You see what the Dolphins just signed Tyreek to. So do the Bills
good,
get
good.
to a point where, you know, Diggs is asking for a crazy contract and the Bills need the money other places? Does Beane maybe invest an early pick in a wide receiver? Because when you have Josh Allen, I mean, yes, it's great to have Stephon Diggs, but we saw what Gabriel Davis did in that playoff game, and that basically just shattered all everything about you need a number one receiver. It's all the quarterback, and I think even this year, I mean, I Devontae Adams is great, but I think a lot of people are kind of over shooting how much that Rodgers is going to miss him. Rodgers is still an amazing quarterback, and I think Josh Allen is that type of quarterback, but I think it's a little different of a scenario where you're the Chiefs, because I think Hill is such a big part of that offense with all the different looks he gives them, versus, with Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, who I'm not saying Diggs is replaceable, but you get to a point where he's asking for all this money and the Bills have other positions. If you can get someone like Jamison Williams in the draft, who he
Educate the
scores a,
listeners or your stupid host, me, who the hell
yeah,
these people are, because this
yeah,
is, you're going like all over the place.
no, no, no.
So,
Yeah, no, no, you're good. I
because
mean, Jamison Williams, I mean, one of the
Because
best wide receivers in college football.
well, hold on one sec. So the Bills brought in Jamison Crowder, right?
Yeah.
So the Bills might want to draft a guy for receiver. Stephon Diggs is still under contract. You know what I mean? And like Gabriel Davis, I don't think it's something to even look after. But if we were to look after a couple guys that you think fit after the Crowder pickup, for people who don't know, I loved him in fantasy football for years. He gets targets. He gets targets. We had 100 targets last year. So Ben, give me maybe 2 or 3 guys at receiver that you think fit the Bills that you think would be good value to get ahead of, and why? Do you have any off the top? You
I
have one.
mean, Jamison Williams, he he busted his legs in the or his knee in the college football playoff game, but that should drop his stock because Williams is the type of guy you just think of kind of like Jerry Judy, but with way more explosive ability and almost like Tyreek Hill, kind of like Jalen Waddle. He just has the game breaking speed ability that you want on, and also polished wide receiver. I also like Traylon Burks out of Arkansas. He put up massive numbers. He's very quick, maybe not as fast as Williams, but he also is very big for a receiver. So I think he's like 6'2", 6'3", maybe. But if you pair someone like him across from a Gabe Davis, you're giving opposing defenses two matchup nightmares when you have two big wide receivers who can run routes like that and are quick. So
So
Chris
here's
Olave too from or Olave from Ohio State, but I don't think he'll probably be there when the Bills pick. But
what's
some
his
intriguing
size?
options. I think he's a little smaller, 6'1", I believe. Let me see though.
Which would be an inch shorter than LaShawn McCoy. I believe LaShawn McCoy is 6'2". If you can believe that.
6'1". No, LaShawn McCoy wasn't 6'2", was
I
he?
swear to God, yeah. I could be wrong. Tell me he's 5'10". I'm just gonna leave the room.
It says 5'11".
Fuck, really? I swear.
I mean, I never thought Shady
Yo, is that
was that
Madden lying to
tall.
me? I could be just lying to myself here.
Yeah, you probably are. But
Oh man.
corner is a big need too. I mean, I don't think they'll go defensive line unless that player from Georgia falls to them, but I still think there's more pressing needs to this team than
If they go
drafting another
defensive
first
line,
round defensive
Ben.
lineman. Oh,
If
I
they go
know how happy
defensive
you're
line,
gonna
Ben,
be
I'm
if they
becoming
draft the
like
first rounder
I'm gonna
defensive
become a
lineman.
fan of an underdog team called the Patriots.
The
Okay.
Patriots.
Yeah, I'm gonna become a Patriots fan. If they go D line, promise. All right,
You're
promise.
gonna choose the worst team to become a fan of though, because the
Yeah, don't do stupid shit in the draft, and you won't lose a diehard. Okay.
Bro, you want to talk about bad drafting? Bill Belichick, awful drafter. Tell me any of his great or good draft picks recently. Great coach, but man, he is not a good
And
drafter
tell me
at
how
all.
we've seen like the softest defense ever in our fucking life last year.
Who, the Patriots?
The Bills.
When they allowed 47 points in a playoff game?
Yo, bro. I'm just saying that defensive line. Did they have D linemen last year? Ed Oliver was playing out of his mind last few
Well,
games, but
they
like
brought
last 5
in
games, but
they
like
brought in two defensive line or technically three defensive linemen because Miller will probably be more of like a defensive end.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm saying. I mean, that staff is still there, okay? And Bill Belichick has been proven to be the greatest coach alive. I'm a fan of coaching, okay? So I'm just saying, if the Bills go D line, I might have to rethink my options towards Boston, okay? And it's
Yeah,
definitely not Boston. But here's what I'm getting at: is I find it a little funny that cornerback isn't really being talked about, and the Bills like to do quiet shit, like
I
don't talk
mean,
about Von Miller till we signed, and
do
love that.
we really? Is there really
Dude,
that big of a
they
corner
don't need.
market though?
Hold on, real quick. If you're talking impact on the team, you don't need a fucking receiver in the first round. That's horseshit. I'm not saying that's what you're saying. I'm just saying like
I'm saying that could be the thinking. I'm not saying we should, because me personally, I would not be a fan of receiver first pick. I mean, I think receiver first pick. I mean, don't get me wrong, that could be a sleepy pick or like a sneaky pickup if they're able to get like an elite receiver and have all these great pass catchers when you have OJ Howard. But when the defense has holes, you already have Josh Allen and all these great weapons. Get another corner. I mean, I think that should be. I wouldn't even mind if the Bills doubled up on corners in the
I
draft.
was gonna say,
Rounds
if you want to fucking moneyball me with that shit, do that.
one and
Somehow get
two. Let's get
get.
corners 1 and 2, and then maybe get a guard in round 3. I think corner and guard are the two
So
most pressing needs now, because we go into the season right now with Cody Ford locked into the right starting right guard spot, and that just cannot happen.
okay, follow me here. So there could be hope on Cody Ford.
We've
I've
been saying that for the last
none,
3 years, though.
and we have,
And what's the
this is
difference? Cromer?
this is where I give the people who hate Bobby Johnson a nod. Okay, and it was his first time, again, a first time fucking O-line coach with the best quarterback arguably in the league. Oh, let's fucking do that. Okay, I mean, it did work. And then before that, who'd you have? Some dog shit and Juan Castillo. Called the Juan
Juan
Cast
Castillo.
bullshit. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. That was McDermott's first offensive hire. So that's why, like, I've been pissed, and I don't, like, care to fucking pander and blow these guys when one bill drives. That side, if the media department wants a guy, like, yo, call me. David Numb Bills Fan at gmail.com. Or no, actually, DavidNumbBillsFan.com. But we can get you an email because we can pretend to be big dogs. But what I'm getting at is, Ben, I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do in the draft, but I'll tell you overall, I lost track. So if you remember where we are, you can go. But I really do want to talk about Crowder. I think that was a good pickup. Cole Beasley bounce. He was saying about the fans. Love Cole Beasley and everything he did for the team. and much respect. So with the Jets, he was the most consistent player.
Yeah, their
Um,
most consistent receiving weapon, and he had to deal with Sam Darnold, Joe Flacco starting some games. Josh
mm-hmm.
Johnson, I think, had one start. He also, and then this year, Zach Wilson, terrible. I mean, he was a rookie, first time offensive
He had
coordinator.
some
I
they had
mean,
some injuries, bro, on the
well, no,
line, I
no, no.
believe.
I'm not gonna write off Zach Wilson based off of his rookie season when he had a first-time offensive coordinator, first-time head coach, and not a really great offensive skill. Good set of offensive skill positions around him besides Crowder. I mean, Elijah Moore was decent. Jets don't really have a great running game, don't have a great tight end, but I mean, Jamison Crowder dealt with some different quarterbacks. I mean, Mike White too. I mean, there's a play, I think it was the season opener of the 2020 season. I was just watching a highlight. The Bills were up 21-3, and like Crowder took like a slant like 70 yards to the house from Darnold. He beat like the entire Bills defense out. And the thing is, we don't see Cole Beasley make those type of plays. I mean, I love Cole. Cole is a really gritty, really tough
He's not
player.
going to get you the yards after the catch. I hate to say it. In his defense, though, the last 2 years,
But
the
that's
kids
what I'm
been playing.
saying. That's
The
an
kids been
extra
playing.
dimension that
Well, bro,
that Crowder brings to
he's
you.
been playing through injuries too in Cole's defense. Broken leg, fucked up ribs. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but in
Like,
Cole's prime in Dallas, he was never a guy to take a
right,
play like that.
right,
So
right.
so that's the
He
thing. I mean, you lose a Cole Beasley, but Crowder can add a different dimension to this offense if he can stay
and
healthy. And
this is
that
his
was a big
first.
issue with him with the Jets.
It's his first free agent contract too. He's 28. So
Second.
is it a second?
Yeah, he was drafted by Washington. He set their rookie receiving
I'm so
record his rookie
retarded.
season. Yeah,
Okay.
he was a
I thought he
weapon
was
for
drafted a
Washington.
Jet, dude.
Nah,
No
he used
shit.
to play for the Redskins back when they were the Redskins.
Yeah, I called it the Foreskins. I don't acknowledge that name at all. The Washington football idiots.
And now
No,
they're
I
the
don't like their new
Commanders.
team. The Commanders. How much of a slap in the face is that name? The Commanders. The
I
fuck out of
mean,
here.
honestly, I like the football team more. I mean, I could have dealt with the football team.
So real quick, back on Crowder. Let's break that down. Maybe I'll go on Pro Football Reference. So he must have been a late round draft pick if it's
He
his
was
second
a
contract.
fourth round draft pick.
Okay, so
He
that's why
was
it's a
taken
short
the
contract.
same year that Diggs was. I think he was like maybe like uh, he wasn't that far behind Diggs, or he was drafted behind Diggs, but or no, I think Diggs was 5th round that year and he was 4th round. So I saw there's like a list of receivers drafted between Diggs and Crowder, but I mean both of them were day 3 draft picks when they were and it would have been probably what 2014, 2015 draft.
Okay.
Uh,
Um, that makes sense. It's just I feel like I've had him in fantasy for like 3 years
I
on
mean
on the
on the
Jets.
Jets, he was on the Jets for the last I think he's been on the Jets for 3 years or maybe 4.
No shit. And what's weird is on the Bills website they don't show any transactions.
Bill's website is always like super slow to like announce
Yeah,
stuff.
that's by
Same with
design, bro.
the app.
That's by design, bro. All right, so ESPN has it. Yeah. All right, so
I
yeah. Oh
mean,
yeah. Do you have any thoughts on Duke Johnson? Duke Johnson, the Bills signed Duke Johnson.
Duke Johnson,
Yeah.
he's not JD McKissic, unfortunately.
Of
I,
course. Do you want to break down to the crowd what happened with McKissic with Bean? Just give it like a 10-second paraphrase and hit back on
yeah,
Duke
this is
Johnson
gonna
because
be more than 10 second, but basically, according to Bean in his presser, this is just gonna be extremely condensed. But Bills had a deal in place. Washington wouldn't back down after they didn't originally offer a deal. And then yesterday, McKissic says he thought he was going to be a Buffalo, not a Bill. He said a Buffalo, but anyways, he said he thought he was going to be a Buffalo, and then his agent called him and told him otherwise. So some shady dealings, but I'm not sure. I mean, they apparently Washington didn't offer them a contract, and then they did after they had an agreement with the Bills. McKissic's agent ends up going back to Washington, but McKissic thought he was going to be a Bill. But Duke Johnson, he a little bit of a journeyman. He was his last really decent season was in Houston, but there's a play and it was third down in overtime. It was like that 3rd and 18 play, Bills against the Texans. You know who had that first down that game that like helped put Houston in field goal range to beat them in the playoffs? Duke Johnson. So he made a play against the Bills in the playoffs, and he can make plays out of the backfield as a pass catcher, third down back. Maybe not, maybe doesn't have the explosiveness as McKissic because he is a little older, and he also doesn't have the receiving ability as far as route running, but I I would say that's an upgrade over Breida. I liked Breida, but Breida
Breida was like
didn't really have
untapped,
it.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know what he. There's a situation where like sometimes you look forward to that guy playing and he gets like 5 plays, and sometimes those plays are in inopportune positions, or frankly, the defense gives
Yeah, I
a
maybe
good
would have.
play
I would have
and.
liked to see Breida get more touches, be a bigger part of the offense. The same I will say about T.J. Yeldon. I mean,
But bro, you got to go against the egos here of the general manager of the fucking. Unfortunately, the draft picks rounds 2 and 3, they get the benefit of the doubt, man. You
yeah,
know,
but I
and at the
mean,
same time, they're in practice, and what if Breida still fumbles? And you saw a coach bench McKenzie, dude, and that was like possibly a locker room dividing move. If you were to ask me, if there's going to be one thing, is you bench a very consistent player over what a fuck for a whole game over one turnover. Like holy shit, dude, take accountability for yourself. You know.
well, that
So for him to,
accountability also needs to be taken because the Bills had a very good kick returner slash punt returner in Roberts. They decided not to bring him back and try to make McKenzie the primary return man. And McKenzie is too big of a part of the offense to be that. And I also don't think he is that good of a returner to begin with. I mean, except against the Titans game. I'm not sure if you remember that game this year. He did run a kickback for a touchdown. And honestly, they called it back because there was like a block in the back, but it was honestly a really trash call. I think looking at the replay, but McKenzie still, I wouldn't want him as the primary kick returner. I think that is a something of a need actually that I think the bill that maybe not enough people are talking about is kick returner and punt returner.
I think Duke Johnson is actually a. I'm sorry to bring it back there, but I'm looking at Pro Football Reference here, and he's very. Dude, I think he's a fucking body. He could be just a body, dude. This could be just like a cheap signing. Want to call him, hey man, he's a good guy, because he doesn't start many games. He really doesn't. And I know it's just starting, and he's always splitting time, but like, yo, he gets last year. He had 71 rushes, 4.6 yards a carry. 330 yards. Now what's crazy is he did have 5 yards a carry one year. Well, that's on 40 rushes.
I mean, I am perfectly okay with giving all of Moss's carries to Duke Johnson. I probably don't think they will, though.
Dude, bro, how can we even evaluate Singletary and Moss when this offensive line has been so inconsistent? Like
The
those poor fucking
problem
kids,
is,
dude.
I
You know?
understand that, but Moss just doesn't have great vision. He's not that fast. I mean,
I don't know, man. I just say I'm not saying I can't criticize him. I'm just saying I gotta
the
pour into the
first
bucket
New
of.
England game, he had a wide open lane to the end zone, first and goal, missed the hole, and the Bills end up losing that. I mean, I'll give him a chance, but
You know what I mean? And that's why I'm wondering, like, okay, there's some tradable pieces here. How are we trying Trayvon Diggs to play with his brother in Buffalo? Like, how are we doing that? That's what I love to
I
see.
don't
A
think
first round
Trayvon
pick,
Diggs
Moss.
is on the block. I mean, but if he was, I mean,
I'm sure
I
they
would
want
take
Moss.
him.
They need running backs in Dallas. I'm sure they need running backs in
Yeah,
Dallas.
I
I heard they
mean,
want running
they
backs in
need
Dallas.
running backs in Dallas because they have so much money invested in running backs that they
Yeah,
can't even keep their own playmakers. I mean, that's why they sent away Amari Cooper because of Zeke.
it's so funny.
And that's why I don't think the Bills are going to probably ever invest anything too much in the running back, because look at the Super Bowl teams. The Rams, who was their starting running back this year? Sony Michel was part of that backfield. He was a former first-round pick of the Patriots, but he's not a high-money guy. Cam Akers was like a third-round pick.
Oh, by the way, you know we didn't talk about, bro? My guy Starlo Tule getting released, and I said from fucking day one it was
No,
a
you already
dog shit
mentioned
signing.
that. You mentioned it.
One, huh?
You mentioned it earlier, but we didn't dive into it.
Right. So they released Starlo Tule finally, and you know, I'm not saying he was a bad player because I don't know the X's and O's. I understand he had the job to keep the linebacker sleeping. My point is the Bills media was so on fire with ripping on Marcel Darius and stuff, and I was a big Homer fan, you know, and I was still pissed and that they got rid of him because I just feel like you go through some stuff, you know, and then the marketing tells you we love you, we love you. Like, what's going to happen? How much are you going to care about football when you got money? Shit's going on. So when it comes to you know, Von Miller, that's great because we thought he was going to be a Bill. He thought he was going to be a Bill. I thought he was going to be a Bill. You thought he would be a Bill.
Well, he's a Bill now.
Yep, and now he's a Bill. And, dude, I am way ecstatic about that signing, like, since we last talked. I'm just like, you know what? You got to do what you got to do. Once it's monopoly money, I'm stoked.
Well, the thing is that, and this was something that Cover One tweeted, that in the playoff game versus Tampa, Miller alone had 10 pressures on Brady. When the Bills played Tampa in week 15 or whatever it was, they got 2 pressures from the whole defensive unit. So Miller alone outperformed the Bills' entire defensive line against Brady. They got a Super Bowl because of it.
That's so fucking funny. That's so funny that, like, one player is such a human wrecking ball. And I guess Peyton Manning called him the most athletic guy he's ever played with. Like, that's crazy.
I was watching
Eric Wood said that.
I was in Cover One also tweeted out an old segment that NFL Network filmed where Von Miller and Bruce Smith went back and were watching tape of each other and like commenting on like each other's like different techniques, like what they were doing. And one thing about Von is just so good at timing the snap and getting that release and even like beating out that offensive lineman. And that's one thing that Mario Addison could not do, is time the snap or get the right release. So that could just be a huge difference maker in the playoffs when you're facing Mahomes. And Von doesn't whiff on a lot of his sacks. He brings guys down.
And you know, dude, it's just you gotta have the whole thing with this shit. It's chess. My favorite part about football is it's chess. And when I go at it from a general manager's perspective, and you've invested so much fucking money and draft picks in this defensive line, and you can't hit on one.
Well,
let me finish. I've seen Leslie Frazier do it in Minnesota. I've seen him already do that. That Williams wall was no joke when Favre was there. That was not a fucking joke. Jared Allen was a monster. Okay, like he's done it before, dude. And then to come here, that's why I wonder if there's a disconnect in the scouting department, because the contracts to production to the draft picks to production men, it ain't lining up. This one has to line up. It has to line up.
I think the hope is that Miller's going to come in. He's going to get great production. He's going to help Shaq Lawson kind of have a rejuvenated season. He's going to come back and maybe become a key rotational piece, at least a good on rundowns. Maybe he'll get 8 sacks like for a good season from Shaq Lawson. I'm not saying he's going to get you 8 sacks every year, but you know, maybe having Von Miller helps Lawson becomes more productive, and then maybe it helps Rousseau develop more. It helps Basham. It helps Epinesa.
The Bills have so much equity.
Early draft picks on.
They have a lot of equity. I think that if they wanted to ship off a young guy, be like, "Yo, go get a fresh start."
The problem is though, how much are you getting back from Boogie Basham or AJ Epinesa based off of their production last year? You're getting peanuts back, honestly. Like they need to ride it out with those guys because I don't think you're getting a whole lot for AJ Epineza if you trade him right now.
I mean,
I
dude,
really
this is
don't.
such. I mean,
How many sacks does he have in his first 2 seasons? I think maybe 3
exactly
combined.
everything we talked about every year has been, for me, the defensive line resources, and I'm looking at the O line like, dude, you're releasing people that are fucking good. They're like Pro Bowlers after you release them, and it's just confusing. But Ben, as you
Two
can
and a
tell,
half sacks combined for Epeneza's first 2 seasons. That was their top draft pick in 2020 because they traded their first rounder for Stephon Diggs.
that's what I'm saying. How is there that much of a disconnect with their scouting department?
And
He
I'm
can't
wondering,
produce.
it's
Hold on,
like,
Trent Murphy, scouting department, pro personnel, can't produce. Why, Ben?
what was the role that they even brought Epineza in for? It's like, what were they expecting out of him if he's just gonna, be a rotational player right off the bench the first 2 years? I mean, they used a high draft pick. You know who they could have gotten
Don't even
that
go through
draft?
the list, Ben. Don't
If
go through the
okay,
list.
no. If they didn't draft Epineza and they didn't take Moss, you know who was available? Jonathan Taylor. And just talk about the Bills scouting department. It's like,
That's what I'm
imagine
saying,
Jonathan
bro.
Taylor with Josh Allen. It's like why are we using top draft picks on players that are rotational players? It's like we need these guys to be high value impact starters.
And then you got
And you look at
Basham riding the
Cody.
bench in the season. You know what I mean? He's not even active for some games. And then you get like, oh, it's like, so wait a second. You not only draft
I mean,
Basham after having
exactly.
Obata.
And then you look at the other, day 2 draft picks from this regime. I mean, Knox, he finally turned out, but he was a bust up until this season. I
No,
mean,
no, 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 no. Knox was not a bust, dude. Knox was not a bust. No way.
he didn't look at his
Dude,
production. He
yo, but
couldn't
you could,
hold on to the ball. Okay, hear
Ben,
me out. I'm not saying Knox was a bust, but he wasn't what he was this season. He struggled with drops. He didn't have great production. He wasn't a serious threat as a tight end, drafted in the 3rd round. He is now.
he struggled with drops, but
He
you
is
knew
now. But
you
what I'm saying is, outside of Knox, you have Cody Ford, Boogie Basham, AJ Epineza. I think those are the rest of the day 2 draft picks from Beane. Zach Moss. Am
will
I missing any?
we'll go. How about this? Next show we do, or maybe we can do this with Kevin. We should just do a Bean season by season draft review, because I think it would make a lot of sense. And yeah, there's just the thing with football, man, is there's just once I woke up years back to how the system works of just like, all right, they have X amount of OTAs, which is off season workout stuff, okay, which are technically quote unquote optional. But if you don't go, you don't play favorites with the coach. So unless you're a superstar. And those are important because that's your chalkboard days, those are whatever. But then they have a bunch of fuckery, using where you can't put on pads or whatever. And same with camp for the most part. And there's really not that much practice time. So when you get these players and you have a Super Bowl hungry team here, there has to be some moves with that 2nd round, 3rd round pick, whatever, where if you got being these scouting departments, you got these guys that scout other teams or players that shake up. I think the D line could have been looked at, and it's like, I think it's a no brainer to trade for players. I mean, again, I'm stoked for Brandon Beane. It's my favorite offseason. But the truth is, and I'll leave you with this one, it's easier to get players how they have through trading and just signing a free agent.
I'm gonna agree with
Then
you.
is to develop them, and they don't develop players. And like we were saying with Knox, we at least knew Knox had it. And Knox came from a pass-heavy offense, so he understood.
Is that the same thing with Ford though? Do you think Ford can develop with Cromer?
I don't think Ford has had good coaching from the jump, as I'm saying.
I still think
because every offensive lineman went downhill when McDermott took over year 1. Okay, and Dawkins had an awesome year, but like, dude, think about this. Again, Eric Wood on the Shout podcast, okay, with Matt Perino and Ryan Talbot. There it is, Matt Perino. Matt Perino talks.
I was going to say Matt Perino.
Yep. And bro, check it out. You should check it out. You would love it. I don't. it was such a good podcast that like I listen to these podcasts because it's what I do at work, is stare at walls and code them and fucking. And now there's so many, and I'm like, man, why do I want to talk about this? It's just I don't feel like I'm providing value more than just being a human being that is piecing together systems and
No. But I mean,
you know.
you still had it with Cromer. I mean, how many other people had that with Cromer? And we look at it, how many years later, now they're bringing back Cromer, and the Bills are talking, or not the Bills, but we're talking about it, and it's on Bills podcast now, talking about Cromer. And this is something you said, 3-4
Oh my
years
god,
ago
for
on a
years,
Bills
bro.
podcast, that we should have kept Cromer. So
Yeah, we'll have to do that, man. Because what I would love to do is some nice player exposes, some really nice. We have a long off season, especially on Von Miller. What's he up to? How is he as a person? What's community think? Um, dude, I really, and I want to do a tribute piece to Cole Beasley because I personally really appreciated him because it's been a tough couple years, and a lot of people have turned on me, frankly. But other
mhm.
people, we've repaired a relationship, and it's been good. But I'm not down for abuse anymore amongst our friends and family. And I feel like Cole Beasley put himself out there, and I appreciate that. So, Ben, where can we find you on Twitter and Instagram?
Twitter, it is gonna be my first and last name, Ben Grimaudo, and my Instagram is Ben_Grimaudo.
Sick. I'm your host, David Palermo, on this one. Find me, David J. Palermo, on the IG and Twitter first. Numb Bills Fan for your Bills stuff. And again, great follows out there. So check them all out. If you don't follow Cover One and see their deep dives, go into it. This is my favorite time of the year,
Yeah,
frankly. I
and
I, I love the
draft season is
transactions.
is upon us, and
Yeah.
this next month is probably gonna be not as crazy as free agency, but looking at the moves that other teams have made, it's kind of like the Bills kind of got to counter and match that. But I think I'm excited about Hill leaving the Chiefs. I'm not excited about him playing on Miami personally, but what I am excited about is he doesn't have anyone to throw him the ball. Just think of how different of a situation it would be in Miami if they had drafted Herbert, though, and Herbert would have all those weapons down in Miami. But thankfully, Tua can't throw the deep ball.
Well, I know we weren't going to talk longer, but we saw Tua in person. I want to bring this up, and we blowed over it. I blowed over it if you're talking about it, and I did see something about Tua having a hip injury, and then you watch it towards the end of the year. He threw it zip. So, hey, it is what it is. So Ben, we'll go deeper next time.
Yeah,
Can I
no,
get
no,
on? Can I
yeah,
go to work?
you can go to work. I gotta go to work too.
All right, bro. You have a good day,
All
man.
right, you
Thank
too,
you.
bro.
And guys, already subscribe. Tell your friends you like it. You have any topics? Please hit up on Instagram, Twitter, whatever the fuck, and tell your friends and family. Toodaloo. Ben, I don't even know how to turn this off, dude. This is sweet. This is what it's like all about. It's all about not knowing anything. Yeah, you can subscribe everywhere.